Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt, that's Alonso, that's Christy.
Hello.
If you are afraid of spoilers,
Stop now.
Stop now. Do not go any farther, because we are going to spoil the heck out of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you guys? I'm ready. Are you
I'm
guys
ready.
ready?
Let's do it.
I'm
At
ready.
home, are you ready? Okay, because we're going to spoil it. All
Right.
Okay.
Did I hit your thing? Sorry.
was
There it goes.
admittedly annoyed that rather than just be a person with talent and an ability for the Force, oh no, Rey is a Palpatine.
Ray
Yeah,
Palpatine. That's
that's-
so lame. It's so
I know,
lame.
that really bothered me.
I love the daring of the idea that like anybody can just have this thing. It doesn't have to be like
It doesn't have to be
patrilineal
dynastic. Yes.
edict that you've got it in your blood and you're doomed to whatever you're doomed to be. Like, yeah, why can't she just be a badass of her own accord?
Yeah, that
I mean,
that annoyed me.
Yeah.
now, the classic hero journey often, very often, almost always has the hero be like some hidden orphan from some bloodline.
Right.
Like
Sure,
has some hidden destiny, right? So that's at least consistent with what Star Wars is.
King
But,
Arthur.
Right,
but
right.
Kylo Ren is already torn between his parents and his
Right,
grandfather.
but that's not the hero journey.
I
Right?
understand.
I get it. Like it's much more daring, and it would have been much cooler. It's like, oh no, she's just a person.
Yeah.
Who's
Right.
talented.
Right, because Anakin Skywalker was too.
Right. And
Right.
and there is
I mean, sort of.
And there's a hint that Finn has some force in
So
him.
there's a lot of stuff that goes on that like there's a lot of hints about stuff that never gets addressed.
Oh, like the thing that
Like,
Finn has
okay.
to tell Rey.
So
never
first,
brought up
you're
again.
right. That's
What is that? What is
that's
that?
the most obnoxious
We don't know.
thing.
We never
They're in the
find out.
quicksand, and Finn says, "Oh wait, Rey, there's something I never told you." I'm like, well, okay. Any character that does that in a movie, unless you
Chekhov's
are
revelation.
right, any character that does that in a movie, it's never anything. It's either a joke, and if it's not a joke, then it's "I love you."
Yeah.
Right?
Usually it's
That's
about you.
it. That's your only choices. They never the
Or
only
I'm your real father.
right. The only way they go back to that is Poe and they play it for laughs, sort of. Is Poe like, what were you going to say? Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, that was I thought we were going to die. I'm not saying that. Right?
Do you think
But
it's that he knows that she's a Palpatine?
no.
No.
No, I don't think so at all. So that was irritating. Then we hear Finn go on and on about, like, in a couple of different places, I did this because of a feeling. I have a feeling that something's happening to Rey, right?
Right.
Like when at the end, when Rey dies, Finn feels it, right? And it is allegedly, a lot of times we've seen, like, it is difficult to use a lightsaber.
When Rey
It's
dies,
supposed to
you
be.
mean when Leia dies?
No, when Rey dies at the end of the movie.
Before
right.
Ben
Right,
brings
when
her
she
back.
temporarily dies,
yes.
right? We see Finn
feel it.
feel
That's
it,
right.
right?
The whole thing. Sorry,
and his ability with the lightsaber, while not necessarily as great with a lightsaber as Rey was, like he's still pretty solid with that against a stormtrooper. And I find it a little. I don't think that J.J. Abrams would make the decision to give a character like Finn a lightsaber and have him be good with it in the first of this new trilogy in Force Awakens without eventually revealing that character also has some Force ability. Rian Johnson, I would feel different about, but I don't think Abrams is going to work that far outside the lines.
Well, that's one of many, many things here that are suggested, dangled,
Yeah,
played with, and then
Leia's lightsaber. Oh, it's been waiting for the person who needs it, and then Rey uses it once, and then buries
And then
it
gets
because
rid of
now
it.
she's got her.
she's got her own
lightsaber.
It's yellow. Nick
But
explained
she's
to
still
me
calling herself Skywalker.
what a big deal it is that she has her own color lightsaber. It's not anybody else's shade. It's her own.
Right, we've not seen that.
We've not seen yellow before, but also the whole thing with Kerry Russell. If you guys watched our other non-spoilery talk,
Yeah.
I mentioned that like I got out of my screening of Star Wars and I texted these guys and I'm like, who the hell was Kerry Russell? And I
Didn't you recognize her?
no,
from her?
why do you
Right.
have
They
Kerry
set up that-
Russell and then
that-
put a goddamn helmet on
I
her?
know she's like the Daft Punk Kerry Russell. It could have been anybody for the whole movie.
Right,
It was Pablo Pascal.
I'm
They do
so
this
baffled by
movie.
this.
They do her in this movie because they did such a like with that early pictures of that character. They do with her kind of what happens with Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi. right? Or both those movies, like, oh, Boba Fett, badass. This is amazing. Ooh.
And I feel like what a
And then it's
waste.
like-
And again, it's just part of this whole like half-baked, jokey, romance with Poe. There's so much
Right.
with Poe that like
we better
this-
establish that Poe is not.
Poe is not gay with Finn.
Yeah. So she's
Okay,
his beard.
speaking of gay, can we talk about the lesbian kiss
Oh.
really fast? And everyone was like, ooh, yay, hooray, equality. But no, it's like, it's so quick. It's two characters who like, we don't even know who the hell they are.
Yeah, it's super quick.
It's in the middle of a giant celebration of people in a crowd.
Yeah, everybody at the end of the movie is hugging each other because they finally defeated the First Order, and it's like, okay, yeah, so they kiss on the lips, but like with all the like. Contextually, it'd be like we threw in two women kissing at New Year's at midnight. Like it's
Yeah.
it could have just been like a hug that got amped up.
And who are they?
Hey, also a good question.
Yes.
Right.
Nobody.
So I was like,
oh,
I mean-
look, there's
I mean, look, I'm
lesbians
not-
in the
I'm-
Resistance.
I'm not mad it's there, but let's not pat ourselves on the back real hard about this.
Right.
That's like when they were like, oh, we put the first gay character into an Avengers movie, and it's one of the Russo brothers in that like counseling group. It's like, well, okay, that's nice, but
Right.
Get us invested in a character we know.
This
Yeah.
is literal lip service.
Right.
thank
Okay.
you. Good one.
I really was not happy with the kiss between Rey and Kylo Ren.
Me neither. You know what? People laughed at my screening.
Oh, see, I thought we'd been waiting for that for 3 movies. Like that was one of the few times I was like, finally.
And then he dies.
yeah, I
Which is dumb because if he's been forgiven by his father, then he should be allowed to live now.
And be happy. So Nick's theory was that he like used up every bit of like life force, whatever Rey gave him to
Right.
save him.
Oh, he gave
gave
it
it back to her, and then couldn't sustain it, and so he died. But a moment that's supposed to be like gasp-inducing in its drama, people laughed at my screening
Oh,
when
my.
they kiss, and then he collapses.
yeah, I really didn't care for the kiss.
Yeah.
Like I thought that took away from certainly her journey, but both of their
And now
character.
she's going to be a moisture farmer? Like what?
And then as he's climbing, like he goes into the pit, and I'm like, oh well, I guess there's the rise of the Skywalker. He's going to climb back out. So I was actually surprised at what it ends up being the reveal, because apparently there's also Force adoptions. That's the new Force power. Like, oh yeah, okay, so Luke and Leia show up at the end. I'm like, yeah, you can be our kid. You can take
It's,
Skywalker.
the,
right,
it's
right.
the family
Yes,
you
yes.
choose. The
Right.
family you
Right.
choose. And so literally, it's the last word of the movie. The word is Skywalker. It's the rise of Skywalker because she's Rey Skywalker.
But the thing that I mean, look, like Ben
They call
Skywalker
me
has to
Mr.
die.
Tibbs.
Ben Skywalker has to die because for the same reason Anakin has to die.
Ben Solo. Right?
Ben Solo.
Ben Solo,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry. Ben Solo. Ben has to die. Kylo has to die because you can't have the mass murderer walking around. Like from the
Well,
fairy
that's
tale
true.
perspective,
Yeah.
like you can't be like, yeah, I was responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, but I'm better now.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
super
I'm
sorry.
redeemed.
Like, sure, you're redeemed, but somebody's still going to have it in for you.
So were you guys also thinking about meme mashups of Marriage Story and this movie involving
No.
like that 4-panel
No.
Marriage Story meme? I'm thinking someone's got to put in like Adam Driver as Scarlett Johansson with Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley and like picking up the conversation. I'm thinking this is a meme. That's my thought.
It's weird watching him in this movie because, like, I mean, Adam Driver is a great actor. He commits to the material. But, like, yeah, coming off of Marriage Story, to see him play this character who is such a titty baby, who is such a...
It seems very
It's
silly.
just like, oh God, no! You're bringing all of that like method or whatever kind of whatever style it is you use, energy to this whiny baby character, and it's just like.
But I will
okay.
say the stuff they do, I mentioned this in our earlier review, the stuff they do with them, like, what's it called when they're in one another's brains?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
they're
The
like
mind
psychic
meld,
connection
whatever.
they have,
Yeah.
Right.
and how they explore that, and they're able to like penetrate one another's space psychically
Yes.
is so cool.
the
and the way they
clues that
manifest
they
And then,
get
like,
from each other of where
hand
they
the
are
lightsaber
physically,
off.
that payoff was really cool.
Yes.
That was good.
That is one of the better
Yeah.
ideas of this movie, but it just so much of it felt like this combination of like moments that we have to do because otherwise you'll be sad. Like the people who have to kind of come out and do their last little turn because it's
Right.
it's basically like the series finale of a long running TV show. And so we have to
what's
bring
his name?
back-
General Hux.
Donald Gleason.
Donald Gleason. Now I do like that they did the like he ends up. I mean, when they say
yeah.
they have a spy, I'm like, oh, it's Hux. Like I knew
Did
that.
you know?
Oh, did you?
I just
Okay.
knew
I
right
didn't
off the
know
bat
either.
because who else would it be,
Yeah.
right? And it was satisfying because it's what I would expected and kind of what I thought. Oh yeah, what they'll do is they'll make him do it out of spite. And so when he's like, yeah, it's not that I want you to win. I want him to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I was like, okay.
but I would like to have had more time to marinate with like Hux as the mole. That would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, no,
They do away with him so fast.
This movie does the equivalent of when the Mary Tyler Moore Show brought Rhoda and Phyllis in for the last episode, but then don't put the two of them in the final scene in the newsroom. You know, so,
Right.
so like here we are, and then we're gone. You know, like there's a lot of that going on in this movie of like where they're episode 9ing it really hard.
Well, along those lines, you get Ewoks, you get Porgs.
Yes.
I'm like, where's Jar Jar? They've got to trot out Jar Jar and redeem him. Do they not?
We'll talk about Jar Jar in our Mandalorian.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a Mandalorian reference to Jar Jar this week, but or to his people.
I actually thought we would get Baby Yoda. I actually thought we would have some kind of Mandalorian tie-in in this movie.
I had my fingers crossed we were going to get like Teen Yoda or something, but oh well.
I figured we would have that.
Yoda.
It would all tie in. Once we saw like Ewoks and Porgs.
All right, so here's amongst the questions I have about Palpatine coming back, right? Like over and above, like seriously, guys, does it have to be Palpatine? Come on, right? But like, okay, so did he have a crew at the bottom of every shaft in the Death Star, like just in case? Right? Like, who's waiting to pick him up and get him going again?
And who were all those people in the audience?
Well,
They
maybe
were
it,
really supposed to be a
well,
couple of
maybe it was every team that was at the bottom of every shaft
there
of
we
the
go.
Death Star, and like the people of honor are the ones
had a rendezvous point.
that actually got him.
They got the best seats.
But it's so dark and so just like CGI sprawl that it never registers that you have like hundreds of thousands of angry, lusty hordes.
And
or
you
whatever
were
are.
talking about like people seeing the movie in 3D and how the opening sequence is going to look great. That sequence is going to look even shittier because it's going to be even darker, probably.
Well, and then like when both Rey and Kylo go walking under like that huge building, I'm like, don't walk under there. That thing's just gonna you're gonna get mushed.
Yeah. Were there any big surprises?
No,
I
I mean,
didn't think Han Solo was going to come back. I thought just because I thought Harrison Ford was like, "Fuck this, I'm done. I'm done."
yeah, but that's I mean, look, that's a day of filming.
Of course,
Right.
yeah, sure.
What made you cry, Matt?
That was the scene that I got a little choked up. Like
I
when
figured.
when Kylo starts imagining his father's reaction, and like that got me a little. I was like, that hit me,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like his dad forgiving him, and he forgiving himself,
The possibility of redemption.
and the possibility, and it was just like, oh yeah, he really did care for his father.
And
Right,
I
I'm
want to
like-
say, like, I know it sounds like I'm shitting on this movie, and I kind of am, but like, I think there are individual moments that are standouts, like that the Rey and Kylo Ren lightsaber scene while the huge waves are crashing.
That was
all
really
Yeah,
cool.
that's a great
That was
scene.
pretty groovy. You know,
They use the space really.
There are
inventively.
some action set pieces that pay off and that do the thing that you want them to do. Did Carrie Fisher film a second of this movie?
I had read that they'd taken a lot of outtakes from other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think because sometimes the dialogue she says doesn't seem to like it felt like they had to write
Around it.
around it to get to it. So I think they used some clips, and I guess some clips that are on the bonus material. But I think they had used some clips that she had done for Last Jedi, and then there's definitely some CGI stuff in
Right.
there.
It's
Yeah.
a tail wagging the dog, right?
But it didn't look as weird as like CGI Carrie Fisher from Rogue One.
And it didn't look as
Correct.
weird as like Ghost Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right.
Or anyone in Cats.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to enjoy it. Well, we should remind you guys what our numbers were at the end of this clip as well. But like, I really, really wanted to love it. I think I had a really good time seeing it with Nick. I took him out of school early. Sorry, Mrs. Reed. This is where we actually were. And that was fun. Like again, the communal experience of seeing this thing that we all know and love so well. Like that's worthwhile. Like it's worthwhile doing it for that reason. But the actual substance of what it's about and the way it wraps up is not all that satisfying, despite its efforts to be satisfying
yeah.
to everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I went in with like I was open to it being fun. Like I didn't mind The Force Awakens. So like J.J. Abrams being back in the director's chair was like, ugh, damn it. You know, as much as I did like Last Jedi a lot, and it would have been nice to have Rian Johnson back, I was still like, okay, look, I like Abrams' Star Wars or Star Trek reboot, the first one. I thought Force Awakens was fine. Like I think he can spin the plates required to do this sort of final chapter thing. But yeah, I think it is trying so hard to just tick boxes that it just becomes an experience of watching boxes get ticked.
Right. They almost have some really interesting stuff going on, right? Like and look, like yes, it hits beats that a story like this has to do, and I'm okay with that. And most of it I liked, and like the dogfighting scenes and the space combat and all that stuff, all that action, all the stuff that like 12-year-old me would have liked,
Right.
totally there. But like, okay, the one, and I like this part. The one time they really need C-3PO to translate something,
Oh yes.
he's got a limit. But there's no drama.
Oh,
And that's really irritating because, okay, first of all, he's been wiped before, right? In the prequels, like after the prequels, he gets
yes,
wiped.
End,
okay,
that's how he doesn't remember that Darth Vader and Anakin are the same person.
right? And then they set up like, oh well, R2's databanks don't necessarily hold great, aren't necessarily reliable, and so then they wipe his memory bank, and of course he's coming back. Like, there's a way to do that and have some tragedy and drama to it.
There are two fake setups here.
Yeah.
One is that C-3PO is going to have his memory wiped and not come back, and then nope, sorry, it's fine, he's back. And the other one is, holy shit, they killed Chewbacca.
Right.
Oh no, they didn't.
It was just the other transport. That's
Yeah.
all. Right. So they're like teetering on the brink of doing something really daring and potentially alienating, and then they pull back to be safe.
It's like, look,
Yeah.
if you're not going to do those kind of bold strokes in a last chapter, you're never going to do them.
Yeah.
And I guess under Disney, they're never going
Right,
to do
like
them.
there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, I suspect that. I mean, we all know that if Carrie Fisher hadn't actually died, Leia would be alive by the end of the movie. Absolutely. Right. And I think that there's a lot of
And
opportunities.
they
like
would
they
have
could
let
have
Luke Skywalker maybe stay a little more dead. Like
Right.
he force ghosts a lot in this movie.
Very quickly.
They could have. Right. You could have done something like. If they didn't have all the rides set up, they could have destroyed the Falcon. People would have lost their minds, right? That's almost as much of a character as anything else. And yeah, it's a little safe. And again, like the kid in me that loves these movies, like it's enough for him, right? The adult, it's like, oh, like it just keeps. The more I think about it, the more I have questions. Like, okay, so Luke goes on that quest with the other Jedi in that ship, right? But then it turns out that other Jedi was the one who knifed Rey's parents. Right? Like, well, okay, so but since that Jedi had to have died on that planet, Luke went with him on that quest after he is working for Palpatine, presumably working for Palpatine, or he's doing some really like sketchy Jedi business, like we can't take the risk with you guys, so we're going to kill you off. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why kill Rey's parents? I mean, I don't understand what.
So like, there's this huge hole. Like, does Luke not know that that Jedi's actually bad? Like the guy that they all say, like, boy, he had the Force more than anyone.
I think what's really what we're discovering with this, particularly in the undoing of so much of the stuff that Rian Johnson tried to set up in 8, is that nobody sat down and mapped out this trilogy.
Yeah.
They are making it up as they go along, which is weird because they're also playing it super safe. So it's like it'd be one thing if, like, okay, when we acquired Lucasfilm, we laid out this whole thing, and this is what it's going to be, and yes, we're not going to like change up stuff too much because we have the theme parks and all these other things to keep in mind. But no, they are clearly, literally going from film to film, being like, I don't know, I guess now, oh no, we're not, no, but, it's like the Hallmark Channel, frankly, like constantly, like the thing with the lesbian kiss is just a one of many recent examples where they say we're going to do this, and then oh no, actually we're not, or we're going to do this differently, or we're going to change it at the last possible second. It's like, who's running the show?
Right. It's like when you get into the last, or maybe actually the last season of Galactica, and you start getting the news like, oh, the writers didn't have a plan all along. Like they wrote themselves into a bunch of corners. Like early on in that show, they kept saying the Cylons have a plan. Like there's some big arc. Like, oh, this could be amazing. And then you find out, like, you guys were just saying that. Like you hadn't figured out how to wrap this up. Yeah,
we should wrap.
Yes.
We could be here all day.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So our original numbers were. I said 5.3. Alonso said 5.5. Matt said 7. Our average is a 5.9. It's at 59% on the tomato meter. So let us know what you think when you go see it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, still worth seeing.
Yeah.
Sure. So, hey, thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and go to patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We are talking about Mandalorian and Watchmen and his arc materials in the morning show. We review movies sometimes when asked to. We talk about trailers and news and all kinds of other stuff. So check that out, won't you? Thanks for watching, and
Also,
may the farce be with you.
Yes, this Monday on a la carte, we have the lovely April Wolf.
Yes, we do.
Our good friend April Wolf came over to Alonso's house. We had a nice chat this week with her. That'll be up on Monday. She is a former film critic who wrote Black Christmas. She co-wrote the remake of Black Christmas, which is out in the theaters now.
We had a really great conversation
We
about
did. It was so fun. I learned a lot about her. So go see that and then listen to our talk with her as well.
Indeed. All right. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks. Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Bye.